This video is a bit of a way for me to vent about what has happened in the Hajime no Ippo manga in the latest chapters, where Takeshi Sendo, who is my second favorite character in the series, has disappointed me a lot with his attitude and his way of boxing. And that is why I want to divide this video into two parts: my disappointment with Sendo and my anger with Morikawa, the author. And I want to make it clear that this has nothing to do with thinking that Sendo was going to win or anything like that. I think we were all 99% sure from the very beginning that the one who would take the victory was Ricardo Martinez. But obviously that does not change how I feel today, because Sendo is acting very different compared to his previous fights. For example, his fight against Nargo. Even though Sendo was nerfed from brawling with Ryo Mashiba backstage before the match, he still did quite well. He constantly chased his opponent, never gave up despite all the punches he received, and even endured a brutal counter without going down to the canvas, proving that he had what it takes to be a monster. Let's remember that this counter was a right hand, the same one that knocked Ippo out, literally acknowledged by our protagonist himself. Then there is his fight against Alfredo Gonzalez. Even if many people don't like Sendo's performance in that fight, he still did incredibly well. He was able to adapt quickly to Alfredo's textbook boxing and even used certain tricks that many people did not notice, like switching from orthodox to southpaw constantly, making Alfredo lose his rhythm and allowing Sendo to land punches more than once. And also, in this fight, even though Sendo took extremely powerful counters while already very damaged, he endured them, and with a face worthy of a monster, he recovered enough to land punches of his own. That's something that cannot be underestimated at all. Now, of course, someone might say that if Sendo is acting and fighting so differently, it's simply because Ricardo is just too strong, as Sendo himself admits. But I really don't feel like he's using all the strategies and weapons he has shown us in other fights, and I think that's very noticeable. First of all, he is not enduring the counters. He is going down with each one of them. And as I already said, he is not using tricks like switching stances. He is not doing his usual chasing style, nor is he using his strategies like the famous anti-Ricardo, where he tried to throw a smash as some kind of feint. Honestly, he hasn't really tried anything, and he's already giving up, even with his own words saying he cannot win, which is way out of character. And all of this started with his obsession with bringing the World Championship belt to his grandmother. It really reminds me of the obsession Ippo showed in his fight against Antonio Guevara, where all that was in his mind was using the new Dempsey role to show his gratitude to Kamogawa, letting many opportunities to win slip away just to throw that move. And here it feels like Sendo is doing something similar, obsessing over something, over bringing the belt to his grandmother, and that makes him attack erratically, as if he wanted to finish the fight with a single blow and then leave the arena immediately to visit his old lady, leaving us with the doubt: why is Sendo so obsessed with this? I mean, I understand the logic of wanting to bring the belt to the person who raised you, but why is this pushing him into such a negative desperation? Is he really assuming that his grandmother is going to pass away at any moment and all he wants is to go back to the hospital to see her? That would be very strange to me, since we can see his grandmother in apparently good condition watching the fight. And yes, I know, maybe saying good condition is pushing it a bit, because sure, she could be a little sick or tired, etc. But you know what I mean? She is far from being someone who is at death's door. Another alternative is that Sendo is recognizing that he does not have much time left as a boxer due to some health problem. But honestly, we have never had any hints of that in the story, and it would feel completely out of nowhere if suddenly it was revealed that Sendo has some kind of mental illness or a nervous system disease or something like pugilistic dementia. At this point, there should have at least been clear foreshadowing earlier, so I would also discard that. Although, on the other hand, there are people who say that Sendo has always been like this, that it is nothing new to see him taking counters and powerful blows when he just rushes in like a stupid animal without thinking about anything at all. And I can give you that point. It is normal for Sendo to take punches. But right now, he's not taking just any punches. He's taking right-hand counters to his own very strong punches. And that is because every blow he is throwing is exactly the same. All of this because of his obsession, which has pushed aside the instincts that brought him here and all that imagination he usually shows in his strategies. For example, like I said earlier, the very organic stance switching he used to close the distance against Alfredo, because obviously Sendo was not sitting there thinking of a strategy to fight like an ambidextrous boxer switching guards. He just did it because his body felt that it was the way to reach his opponent. And I think this imaginative side of Sendo when he fights is extremely important, to the point that it was acknowledged by Yanaoka, his trainer. That's why I think he asked him at the end of the second round with a hand gesture what it reminded him of, so that Sendo could imagine the Osaka Tower just by looking at the hand, and his second could confirm that his imagination was still intact. That imagination is definitely tied to his wild nature and his ability to push forward in difficult situations. On the other hand, it is not just my perception that Sendo is fighting poorly and far from his usual self. Even Takamura does not recognize the tiger, and this makes a lot of sense because Mamoru often acts as a narrator, constantly giving us objective information in the story. He is the one in the stands giving us the analysis we want to hear, going deeper than his peers who are just watching the fights. Sendo is not acting like he usually does. He is not the same Takeshi that had different sparring sessions with Takamura, but this is obvious to all of us watching this video, so I want to focus on Takamura's words. What he meant is that Sendo is acting like a human, and what makes us human more than anything else? Feelings. Now, I don't think Takamura considers being a monster as the same as having no feelings, but I do firmly believe that to be a monster, you must be able to control them. That would be the key. You don't have to be ultra stoic or just ignore what you feel, but you must control those feelings and use them to your advantage, something that Sendo is clearly not doing. He has fear, desperation, and even sadness. In contrast, Takamura, in all of his fights, no matter how difficult the situation has always been able to redirect that frustration, that anger, and that desperation constantly in order to bring down his opponents. And at this point, it feels natural to think that no matter what Sendo is doing now, something surprising is going to happen in the ring that will make Sendo snap out of it and start fighting like he always has, pulling off a so-called comeback. That is, the fight will get interesting and quite intense at some point. And I understand that this is the most rational expectation, because it would be crazy if Sendo, a character the author has been building up with so much aura for months, were to lose in such a pathetic way. That would really make no sense to me. But that doesn't take away the disappointment I already feel with the fight, and in some way I think it's irreparable, because I believe for many of us this was supposed to be one of the best fights in the manga. That chance to see Sendo at 100% against Ricardo at 100%, that idea alone was so exciting, but now it won't happen. Sendo won't be able to be at 100% at any point in this fight due to the 3 devastating counters he already took. And even Ricardo won't be able to be at 100% because of the damage he took in his right arm from blocking Sendo's punches. So that fight I always imagined will never happen. And that makes me, at least tonight, go to bed with a very bitter taste in my mouth. I honestly don't know what the author wants to do. I don't know what he had in mind when he started writing it this way. I just hope that once the fight is over, I can understand the goal, understand it perfectly. Remember to subscribe for more content about this manga. Good night, champ.